Hello everyone and welcome to our panel discussion on cooling champions, cool carriers for a better world. Today is World Refrigeration Day, 26 June, because it's the birth date of Lord Kelvin. A little bit of trivia, he was born in 1824. He was the fourth child in a family of 7 and his mother died when he was just 6 years old. That's who he is, Lord Kelvin. And his father was a textbook writer and a mathematician. So as they say, the fruit didn't fall far from the tree, as the saying goes. Lord Kelvin's first 2 articles were published when he was just 16 years old. At the age of 22, he was unanimously elected to the chair of natural philosophy. I mean, that's what they used to call physics at that time, okay? Natural philosophy. And this is at the University of Glasgow. That was a position he held for 53 years. In 1848, he devised the absolute temperature scale, which is now called the Kelvin scale. He also formulated the second law of thermodynamics and worked to install the first transatlantic telegraph cable from 1857 to 1866. He became a lord in 1892 and took the name Lord Kelvin. You know why? There was a river Kelvin that flowed near his laboratory. Okay, so that was a little bit of historical perspective for you. So on to today. And as we saw in our opening video, refrigeration, it touches each one of us, be it for food, pharma, data, travel, living. There are so many different aspects to refrigeration, from our refrigerators at home to the air conditioning, high-end air conditioning systems in our homes, offices, in hospitals, medical facilities, right down to the cold storage rooms where food and vegetables are stored, to the refrigerated displays where we actually go and pick them up in retail stores. So our panel today is a very interesting mix of speakers, and it's my pleasure to introduce them to you. Okay, so I'll bring them all on screen right now so that you can see all of them. Right, so this is our panel, and let me introduce you. So we have Mr. Yadu Kishan, he's the head supply chain, California Burrito, which is a chain of quick service restaurants. We have Mr. Indraneel Chitale, partner Chitale Group. Probably, I think the third or now probably the 4th generation into food, dairy, and sweet meat production and retail. We have Mr. Anil D. Gulanikar, refrigeration consultant, director, DAG services, and board member of organizations like AAR, ISHRAE, and AHSRAE. Mr. Sri Kumar Narayan, CEO and founder of Winame UK, that automates compliances to enable facilities like hospitals, hotels, and restaurants to stay safe. Mr. Yashvin Jadhav, CEO and founder of Refcon Refrigeration, mechanical engineer, expert at sizing, designing, building, and maintaining commercial refrigeration systems for food and pharma. And I've saved the best for last. Ms. Nandini Jaganath, educationist, philanthropist, does a lot of community service work. Also, India president of the iLoveToCare Charitable Trust that works on helping students, individuals, and organizations align themselves with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So we have users of commercial refrigeration. We have someone who advises them how to set this up and train people. We have someone who designs and actually builds the cold storage systems and cold rooms. And we also have someone who facilitates and automates the compliances. And finally, someone who is our moral compass, ensuring what we do is right for Mother Earth. Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Before we start, I'd like each panelist to briefly introduce themselves and especially mention how they ended up doing what they're doing today. Okay, so let's keep it crisp and let's start with you, Yadu Kishan.
Yeah, Sandeep, thanks a lot. It's actually going to be an interesting discussion. So, quick introduction. Currently, I take care of the supply chain in California Burrito Restaurant, which is a quick service restaurant chain, so primarily into the Mexican cuisine. Now, I started my career in a totally different industry. I am from an automotive background, and majority of my career I've been working in that, in the supply chain side. So, the automotive supply chain is something a kind of very stable supply chain compared to a food supply chain. A food supply chain is very dynamic, and the challenges that come out is totally different. So I actually wanted to experience such a dynamic situation. That is why I changed the industry altogether. And it is in this industry that I am actually facing. I mean, the refrigeration part is actually a major thing here. So I think I'll be able to contribute in terms of food perspective, especially. So yeah, that's it from my side.
Super. Thank you very much. Let's go with you, Mr. Anil.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting for this such a wonderful program on the occasion of World Refrigeration Day. I started my career 34 years back in the same field, refrigeration and air conditioning, and I proceeded with the same career from in refrigeration, from contracting to now consulting, and also had been opportunity to work with all. You can say end users and contractors. So presently, it is a wonderful thing that whatever experience I have gained, I could utilize it today. And for plant auditing, then designing, engineering, and total project management and design consultancy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chitale.
Thanks, Sandeep, for having me here. Pleasure to be talking on the occasion of World Refrigeration Day. So I am an electronics engineer. I say was for the simple reason that lately I have been doing less of electronics and more on the food and the overall operation scale. But in terms of joining this industry, it's something that I inherited. I'm a fourth generation partner, and there was always a choice whether I should join the business or not. But then, going at how my family has been one of the forefront manufacturers in this industry, it was always an encouraging sector to join, and that's how this brings me here. So glad to be part of it, and always looking at learning new things.
Thank you, Indraneel. Okay, we have Mr. Sri Kumar. Sri Kumar, you're muted.
Yeah,
Yes,
thanks,
go ahead.
Sandeep, for having me in the panel, and it's great to be uh, addressing on this World Refrigeration Day. I come from a computer science software industry background. I complete 35 years of experience in IT, and past 7 years we have been in the compliance space where we are into food safety compliance across different geographies. So basically, we work with the leading food retailers, food catering providers, and food service restaurants, as well as food producers in UK, Europe, Dubai, Malaysia, and recently we are set up in India as well. We understand regulations from a different product and country perspective, and the everything is temperature when we look at food safety. And thanks, Sandeep.
Thank you for being here and thank you for joining us. Yes, Ms. Nandini.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you for inviting me for this panel discussion. Well, going back as a young girl, playing teacher, where everybody's dream as a little girl, scribbling on the walls, draping a towel as a sari. I think that dream in me has been nurtured, and I'm here in the educational sector for the last 24 years. Thanks to the family support that I've got, especially my husband. And in this journey of being a teacher, I have learned to be patient, I've learned to be loving, caring. And in this course of my journey, not only as a teacher, when I've learned all this, a good friend of mine, Anand Padmanabhan, who happens to be the chairman of iLoveToCare India Charitable Trust, he motivated me and inspired me to start a trust here in India, and I'm here in front of you all. So this is me.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Yashvin Jadhav.
Thanks, Sandeep. Starting from the engineering days, worked in different industries like the lighting, petroleum, automobile, and someday I actually joined Carrier. So Carrier, from there only I get into the refrigeration business, and earlier all those profiles were not really anything to do in detail with the refrigeration. You never knew how it work and all. It was all management, and then from there I started, and then to this business, and we started in 2013, and we are doing whole lot of applications in the spectrum of refrigeration.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, it's pretty obvious that, sometimes it's not necessary that the career you start with is the career you end up with, and it's, you could end up spending all your career in doing just, in one particular industry, or you could, move from industry to industry, gaining an experience. And so either you're a subject matter expert with a lot of deep core because you've seen the industry move and change over years, so you have that kind of vision. And sometimes you move into a career where you turn around and bring a fresh perspective because of the fact that you've been in 5 different places before. Okay, so the first question to everyone, and we'll take turns in answering this. So refrigeration, as we saw in the video, it plays a very important role in everyone's lives. So what is it that enamored you to eventually, do you recall any episode, any anecdote, any incident where you felt, that refrigeration is an important part of somebody's life? Could be your own, could be that you saw somebody else do it, so you realized that it was, that's the first time, like I wrote on LinkedIn, that the first time my discovery of a refrigerator, and I was enamored by the fact that when you opened the door, the light went on. So it was awesome for me. I never saw that ever in my life before. As a child, I remember that you opened the door and the light went on, and you shut the door and the light went off. It took me many years and my mother to show me that there was a button over there which it gets depressed, and that's why the light goes off. So that was something. The whole concept of refrigeration per se was not such a big deal. But I'm sure each of you have got incidents in your own life, where you could narrate. And let's start with you, Sri Kumar. What is it that you remember? Your first memory, or where did you think that refrigeration was really critical and important?
So I would relate it when we are all from software and we've been into a lot of automation and so on. When we stepped into the largest blast chiller, which is running at -40, and then that is when we understood that what is food security and how does the supply chain planning tenures work long enough, how difficult it is to source, store, prepare, serve, and satisfy customers. So I don't want to name the customer, but we understand that the meal is prepared 8 months ahead, and then it goes into a blast chilling in a vacuum pack, and then brought and stored in -40. So when we went into the blast chiller, that is when we understood what is refrigeration and what an important role it plays in food security, and what is the technology that goes behind, and why the temperature control is important in the food chain. So that is my first startling experience.
Wow, yeah, that must have been an experience. Yes, Indraneel.
So, we were always exposed to the cold chain and refrigeration as kids because when I used to accompany my grandfather or my father, uncle into the dairy or into our stores, we used to have those big walk through cold storages through which, as kids, maybe 4 5 year olds, going into a 0 degree zone was quite a lot of fun. So exposure was there from that early age. But if you were to ask me what would be something that made me sensitized about refrigeration, I would say that would come in from my maternal side, where my maternal grandfather, my mamaji, and my cousins, all of them have been doctors. And in a very remote part of Maharashtra, where my grandfather was the first private practitioner in that village. So in their house, they still have that 1967 manufactured refrigerator, and there at that time that was the only mechanism to store vaccinations. So that's why having multiple refrigerators in the house as a kid, especially during the summer holidays, was something that we got to see. And how the criticality of maintaining temperature was something that we got to know because vaccines had to be stored at that temperature. So we get to see now because of COVID that vaccines and temperatures and all the ranges that are being put in place. This was something that we got to see at a young age and realize the importance because it was saving lives, especially in remote parts of the country. So that's how I got sensitized about the importance of refrigeration.
Wonderful. That's really awesome. Yes, Mr. Anil.
Yes, if you see cooling and freezing, we are in a touch with all these applications since our childhood. We could have seen that we are chilling water in the earthen pots. So it starts with that. And then when we are chilling the water like this, then second thing, what we are using refrigerated product like ice when we are young, and then we used to preserve the food using ice. So same thing gets applied to the larger scale when we come across frozen foods or keeping the food for the right quality. So I came across such a situation many times that we are testing the food which is preserved for properly, or whether it is stored improperly. What are the changes in the test? Because very important is the test, and that does get affected if you are not maintaining the product at right parameters and specifications. So it starts with early young days as well as your childhood, and still till today you have that application where you are preserving the food, you are preserving the product for the right temperature and for the right product quality. I think that's a great thing what we are doing.
Yeah, perfect. Wonderful. Yes, Yadu Kishan.
Uh, I'll give three instances, sir. The first one, obviously, is when we were all, when I was young, if you don't have fridge, your ice cream will not be chilled. That's the first thing on refrigeration. So after that, I'll say during the work time, the perception completely changed. In the last 1 year, let me give you two very important instances, which actually one really helped the business and the other one did not help. When we had the COVID lockdown time, I mean, the first lockdown time. So I know of somebody in the industry, in our industry, who was having a big facility of cold room and all that. So what he did is, when the prices went down on many raw materials, he took that as an opportunity and he stored a lot of items in his freezers, which actually gave him a lot of benefit down the line. That was the first thing. And the second, again, during these COVID times, at many of the stores, what we have seen is that in case of any delay in a maintenance work, in a freezer or a chiller, it directly affects the business. We had to. There were a lot of instances where some items had to be wasted because the quality was not there. So I would say that in an industry food, or especially in QSR, this is kind of a very probably the most critical thing, the refrigeration part. Without that, probably we'll not be able to run as it is. The whole industry will change. So I think it's very very important that we have very efficient systems, and yeah, I think that's a significance.
Yes, it's very true because they could be while on one hand refrigeration helps prevent food wastage. On the other hand, a badly maintained refrigeration system can actually create that end up wasting a lot of that food. Yes, Nandini, what about you?
All right. The very word refrigeration, I'm associated, or it's a synonym for me for an ice cream, homemade ice creams, or even food for that matter that is in the fridge. But when it comes to this in specific, if there is an incident, my little son, when he was my son, when he was a little one, he was playing with his neighbor, and then he fell, and his tongue had a cut. As a young mother, the first thing that came to me was go to the fridge, go open the freezer, take an ice cube and put it on his tongue for the bleeding to stop. And that worked miraculously. So then I understand that having a fridge at home, having ice cubes at home, it could save something. So this is my take on a refrigerator.
Yeah, that's very true. That's probably the first thing, you put ice on it. Yeah. Okay. So yes, Yashvin.
Apart from the domestic refrigerator, that generally the first point where you come in contact with refrigeration as such. But when I started with the refrigeration trade as such, I went to Hyper City Malad, that on the Link Road, and then the next was Metro Kishan in Bandu. So they were huge stores, and then I was entering first time, and I was in charge of doing something there in refrigeration. And I never imagined that there can be such a huge or such a big refrigeration system only for the customer to go and experience directly. So you have a big rooms wherein customer walks in into a 1 degree room, buys the meat, or maybe some fish section wherein you are roaming in a mall, but that is refrigerated. So that experience was very fast to for as far as the refrigeration is concerned. Then there is no looking back when the first uh, the other aspect of it, when we actually come into agri sector storage. Can you imagine 5,000 metric ton of food products stored in one place, around 500 trucks? And that then when we went on to this business, and then only we realized there's a lot of scope that we never see, from where the products are coming, what is the value chain there. But then there is a lot behind the curtains.
Yes, that's true. Sometimes we don't really see what happens behind. Like I said, we just go to the local supermarket and just pick up something from a nice refrigerated display. But the kind of technology that goes on behind this. One question related to that. So refrigeration technology has evolved so much, okay, and not just in food, farm medicine. But let's say all of y'all are in some way or the other connected to refrigeration. Let's say you had a wish list, so what would be your wish list in terms of what else would you like to see, that maybe you'd like to see it get better, and from your own perspective. So what would be your wish list regarding, let's say, the refrigeration industry? And I think Indraneel would need to leave early, so I'll give you an opportunity to touch upon this issue before you leave. Indraneel.
Thanks, Sandeep. If I was to say what would be the wish list from the refrigeration perspective, I would say one would be on how it can make a more positive impact on the environment around us. Because we all know that there is a side effect to refrigeration that sometimes can be disturbing to the environment, and we need to be conscious about it. Secondly, I would say that we are personally also experimenting on multiple fronts on how logistics can be more effective in multi-zone refrigeration as well. And I would love to see how that can be extended to the last mile deliveries that are happening right now, because that will just help increase the breadth of the organization, and we can just deliver deeper into the country. So as and how solutions evolve onto that will just make much more business sense for the organizations. So that would be my wish list.
Wow. Yeah, so that's a very important point. And Indraneel, if you need to leave, please, thank you for
Sure.
giving us the time
Thank you.
and coming and joining us. And all the best
Thanks.
for your future and for the future of the Chitale Group.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, to carry on the discussion with the others, right? So, wish list, Yadu Kishan, what would be something that you would want?
Yeah.
May or may not be technical, may or may not be, but something that that you feel.
Yeah. Uh, few things that in the QSR that we face as a challenge is also a kind of a wish list, I'll say. One thing that we always see is that the logistics part, I mean, the refrigerated logistics is available in our country, but the scale is not suitable for all the users, I'll say. Like whenever we have very less volumes, we find it difficult to move around. Second is it is not available to all the locations, and adding to that, uh, because it is not available at all locations, there will be wastages en route because it will be a normal logistics, and there will be lot of other wastage also. I mean, at the point of production itself. So what I would want to have is a much more robust network in terms of logistics. And second is that we have a lot of equipments, a wide range of equipments, and the awareness among probably the farmers or a big part of our society need to improve a lot on their refrigeration. So I think this too will actually bring in a lot of efficiencies and reduce the wastages a lot. So I would want to see these things in the future in India.
Wonderful. That's two very very good aspects. Yes, Sri Kumar.
Yeah. So the first one is, at least from an Indian perspective, we should be able to eat mangoes in December, and there is no seasonal issues in terms of consumption, availability of vegetables or fruits throughout the year. Because whenever we go to London or Dubai, even Dubai doesn't have agriculture, we can buy any fruit from anywhere in the world. So I think refrigeration and cold chain plays a major role. So that will also help the farmers, the whole supply chain, and the seasonality can be taken out. I think that is one thing I would like to see rather than having only during the season. And second is to also find technology where the greenhouse gas emissions is optimized and we become more friendly. We talk about refrigeration and as much as heating. Both are guzzlers and more energy spent and more gas emissions. So if there is technology improvement, advancement in terms of optimizing, minimizing the emissions, that will be energy consumption and everything.
Right. Yes, I think these are very important aspects. And go ahead, Mr. Anil.
Yes, I s- when when I started working as an end user, I came across many such things which I wish everyone should follow who are dealing with the refrigeration. And with the recent problems what we are facing about increasing the world temperature and how to control it within the limit, that the limit is 1.5 degrees Celsius in temperature rise, we should allow, otherwise we should not allow more than that. So considering this, my wish list it will be that everyone starts using natural refrigerant. That is one. Secondly, people should believe in knowledge and they should update their knowledge. It should not be like whatever I did 30 years back or 40 years back or even if 5 years back. It should not happen that that's the final thing and there is no improvement. Every day there is some or the other improvement. So people should believe in knowledge, and updation of knowledge is very important. Secondly, what we lack here is to follow the standard. I wish everybody should know what, whenever they start doing related with refrigeration, they should know what are the standards, and we should try follow the standards what are available. And we should not say that oh, wo chalta hai. That kind of attitude I wish people should not have. And then people should take care of the safeties, especially when we are talking about refrigeration. Then the safety is paramount in importance. Uh, no, it doesn't matter what kind of refrigerant you are using. So safety is very important, and people see, oh, how much safety cost, and then they say, okay, it is costing very heavily, so let us not purchase safety PPE or safety facilities or safety follow the safety requirement. So I wish people should follow the safety requirements, and they should never feel that they know everything, and then they if as I suggest that everyone should take a second opinion about their plant, and which is also mentioned in the standard that every 2 years and every 5 years a plant has to be audited by the external agencies. It doesn't mean that you don't know, but sometimes even one clue what we get makes a lot of difference in terms of energy as well as safety. So I wish people do that. Thank you.
Yes, I think these are very important points in terms of compliance to standards, awareness. I mean, a simple thing like like in our homes, some of us have air conditioning and air conditioners in our homes, and the temperatures that we set, it's recommended to be 23 or 24 degrees, and there are a lot of people who like to keep it at 18 and 20, which is really not necessary. A comfortable temperature is probably 23 or 24. It doesn't have to be a cold room or a freezer inside your bedroom, so that, yes. Yes, Yashvin, what do you
If
see?
you, what I see is like is in many forums we discussed, like from farm to what we consume. There is a lot of wastage of food, and that is maybe because of non proper handling or non proper preservative methods to handle it or prevent it from spoilage. So I want to see a low cost, energy efficient, small products which can be used by farmers directly, and that can benefit their all the efforts that they put into field, and prevent it from spoilage at the right time.
Yes, that's something. I think innovative technologies is something that we want to look at. Yes, Nandini.
All right. Wish list. The wish list would be that the young generation, they should understand the impact of their creation. I would want to emphasize on two key factors: innovation and sustainability. When both these two factors are taken into consideration, we should encourage every creation of these young generation, but we should be mindful for the drawbacks that it is going to create to the environment. So with this, I think there is some amount of sustainability in their creation as well.
Yes, I think it all stems back down and boils down to a lot of the awareness part, because the more aware we become about what impact our actions have on not only the people but also on the environment around us, which actually brings me to our next question. Uh, in 2015, the United Nations outlined these 17 sustainable goals. It was like a universal call, to all the countries to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030 they had put the goal. By 2030, all people enjoy peace and prosperity. So when we look at it from a perspective of how these goals and where does refrigeration play a role, like for instance, and of course Nandini will bear me out on this. There are some specific goals, like the first goal says no poverty, the second one says zero hunger, third one says good health and well-being. So a lot of the points that all of you have also made goes to show that a lot of these things are in some way aligned. What specific things that do you think that we should be doing? We spoke about what our wish lists are, we spoke about what the challenges are, we spoke about how we are using it. So if there was just one thing that you had to say that let's just do this, it's the one thing which we can implement, not very difficult, not very complicated, doesn't really require, government sanction and crores of rupees or millions of dollars or things like that. Something that we can do at our level, So what's the one thing that you would do? I mean, a lot of you could probably come up with the same thing, but still, what would be that one thing? It's an open discussion. Anyone can go.
Can I take this question,
Yeah,
Sandeep?
sure. Go ahead. Go ahead. Everyone can, answer. Nandini, go ahead. Take the lead.
Yeah. The United Nations Sustainable Goals is not country specific. Okay. Implementing all the 17 goals would definitely make the world a better place to live. Emphasizing on goal number 12, that is ensuring sustainable consumption, and goal number 13, climate action. With the current pandemic, after we are, with this crisis that is happening, when we are trying to recover, in couple of months, we are going to recover this situation. Then I think we should emphasize on clean, green, healthy, safe, and more resilient attitude towards the environment. The United Nations has proposed 6 positive action plans. Some of them are like green transition, green job, green economy, and things like that. And we should promote this for the sustainability of our lifestyle. So my take would be sustainable lifestyle with this United Nations Sustainable Goals.
That's a very good point, Nandini, you brought up. So, what would sustainable lifestyle mean for us to be able to do? So, anyone can chip in. Sri Kumar, Yadu, Anil, Yashvin. So, what does it mean? What do you understand? If we say sustainable lifestyle, what do you understand by that? How do we start implementing that?
More conscious about the energy, or more conscious about any actions which leads to harm to the environment. That all we have to take care, and we have to look at the products or processes where there is less consumption of water, let's say, or maybe less pollution being generated by that process, similar to that kind of thing.
So basically, things like which are in our control. Let's not waste too much. Simple things that we could do. Anybody else? Yadu, Anil, Sri Kumar.
Yeah, Sandeep, I think from a developing world, basically, I would leave out the developed world because there also there is a factor of temperature being like they have a winter and cold weather for 9 months, and they have a 2-3 month summer. So whereas Africa, Asia, India, where the majority of the population live, we should, I think, cultivate, learn and adapt to have local food. I think that is the most important point. If you take dairy, then the meat industry and the seafood, I think these 3 play the major role in terms of refrigeration and a lot of energy consumption and gas emissions. I think if we can localize, I think the even marine life across the climate change as well as the sustainability can be contained if we can consume locally grown food. I think that is the main thing which can save phenomenal.
True, that would to some extent, but those would be challenges in areas where nothing can grow locally, as you mentioned, like areas like in Dubai. So probably we could have region-specific action plans. So in different countries they could adopt different steps, and collectively we could probably do that together.
I just want to add, because you mentioned Dubai. Day before, there was a global meet, online virtual meet by Dubai University Future Studies and the food security in 2050. So there is a forum. They outlined how Dubai, Iraq, the GCC can be self-sufficient in food and sustainable. I can share that offline.
Sure.
But
yeah.
There is a right direction of thinking.
Yeah, that would be very interesting to see, because some of those countries really have a challenge of not really having a conducive weather environment.
And they have the largest greenhouse. They have the largest vertical farm in the world. Dubai has the largest vertical farm in the world.
Yeah, so they've probably taken better steps than the rest of the world. Anybody else? Yadu, Anil? Yeah.
I think something is in our hands is whenever you are in an office room or say any meeting room, most of the times the ACs will be running. In fact, many companies are enforcing that. So we just ensure that we don't see any wastage of anything. Only if it is absolutely required, we use it. Otherwise, we make a habit of turning it off or in that way. I think that kind of awareness need to go to everybody.
Yeah.
So many a times, even I think most of us have seen that a light is on or an AC is on where it is really not required. I think that requires a change in the mindset also.
Yeah.
And
Very
a
true.
second totally different thing is uh, you might have seen the news recently, I think a month back or so, somewhere in the outskirts of Bangalore, the farmers were actually throwing away their produces, tomatoes specifically. So that was in like they came in tractors and they couldn't just use it. Uh, if in fact, I think government is already proposing for a cold chain network also. I think such things from an industry level should be pushed so that at the rural areas, I mean, they are aware and they can actually take an advantage of that. So any produce going as a waste is it's not at all good, especially food wastage is it should
Yeah.
not be.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think,
in fact, yeah, actually, since I'm in this QSR at every store level, even a wastage of a small quantity is a crime, kind of that. So when we see that there's a huge waste, it's actually very sad to see.
yeah, yeah, it's very true. It's generally, the answers are actually not very complex. They're very simple, but sometimes the
Mm.
simplest answers are also probably the most difficult to implement. Yes, Anil, you were wanting to say something.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, considering this, uh, whatever UN developments or UN information is there, if someone can share where these informations are available, it will be very good to know about it, so that one can follow and one can update what is happening in the world. And I would also like to know whether what are the some of the projects which UN would like to take for use of natural refrigerant, because that will be, I think UN is doing that, because last week we conducted a training for Sri Lankan trainers to train about ammonia refrigeration, and the program was conducted by UN and the Environmental Ministry of Sri Lanka. And UN, one of the activities to train people, and we are contributing it to that. But if we know such various activities related with refrigeration, it will be great and we can
Yeah.
contribute.
Yes. So I think the common theme that comes out is that there needs to be a lot of awareness in terms not only of generally what can be done, but specifically what individuals can do. And the answers could be as simple as, switch off the lights and fans when you really don't need it. So let's not waste things. I mean, these are, some of the fundamental, basic, as we used to say, the basic value systems that we have, that let's not unnecessarily, waste, let's not over consume, let's not, over splurge, and let's be a little more frugal, so that, the world becomes a better place. So yeah, I think, it's very important that we do that. So it's like during COVID and during the pandemic that we had, everyone saying that you could actually be a COVID champion if you are taking enough of care of just yourself to make sure that you are safe and the people around you are safe. So if you mask up and wash your hands and keep safe distance, you're a COVID champion. So that's actually brings us back to the theme of today, which is the cooling champion. So basically every one of us can be a cooling champion, so to speak. So which brings me to my final question for each one of you. A career in refrigeration, and in industries related to this. So what's your advice? And I would, like each one of you to individually answer this. What's your advice to anyone who wants to make a career in an industry that's with refrigeration or associated with them? Let's start with you, Anil.
Yes, there are a lot of opportunities about refrigeration, and then there is a very interesting subject also. If one really like to go into the detail, they will find and they will develop the interest. For as I will give you my example. Basically, I am an electrical engineer, but when I started my career in refrigeration, I find it more interesting. And then I not only restricted up for the electrical work, but I tried to learn about the mechanical things also. So if you, because electrical is almost 10 to 20% of the total project. So if you have a enthusiasm, if you have a will, then you can learn, go into the depth, and you can learn a lot. And nowadays the automation is coming up, and then you can do miracles in the refrigeration system. Those, it's like if you want to develop any app, it is interesting, as well as you can develop many things in the refrigeration which the modern technology can be used. So there will be very interesting opportunities in the air conditioning and refrigeration, which students should get aware, and they will feel very interesting in learning as well as following throughout their life.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yadu Kishan,
Yeah.
what is your advice or to anyone who wants to make a career in refrigeration or associated use or technology?
Mm, I think, sir, there is a lot of scope in India, especially for this segment, and the demand is going to only go up. I mean, only the pace is what we need to look out for, but definitely it is going to be there. So, in the near future, I think that is definitely a area which the next generation can look into. And on a lighter note, my maintenance guy is the most liked guy in our company. He, he takes care of all the chillers and freezers. Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's in very
Yeah.
much demand, and everybody wants him.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think
So,
I think the future is very solid there. That's what I feel.
yes, Nandini, you work
All
with a
right.
lot of students also. So, what would be your advice to anyone who's planning or who would like to take up something in refrigeration?
I will just add on to what Mr. Anil just said. Yeah, the future generation should explore, and I think it should be more of research and development oriented, because let's keep again in mind about the environment. So the opportunities are varied. There's a huge platter available for them, but on finding something as an alternate solution and something eco-friendly. So that would be my say for this.
Right. Fantastic. Sri Kumar.
Yeah, well, I would present two opportunities. One is in the equipment management, which we definitely need maintenance people who will go towards the machine and ensure proper functioning. The other kind of job where India can excel, Indians can excel, is the typically what we see a trend in the job market is uh, there is only one job in the market, which is mediating between a machine and an idiot. So that is a human. Sorry to be. If you go to a bank, you go to a doctor, you go to a insurance, you go to a mall, you go to a retail. So there is somebody looking at the screen, entering some data, and then talking to a human. So the I think monitoring the multiple cold chain, cold storage, or hospitals and theaters and all that, using AI, machine language optimization, and data, IoT sensors. I think that is analytics and monitoring job. Machine will do most of the job, but you monitor the machine and then you are able to take some preventive actions. I think those kind of jobs globally with 5G and remote, I think we could create a new stream to say remote HVAC monitoring centers for massive, for global HVAC industry, refrigeration industry. I think that is a massive opportunity I see at the high end. So both at the refrigeration
Yeah. So,
engineer working at the plant
yes. So,
and the
so
other end.
there. So there. Right. Yeah, so you very rightly put it, at both ends of the spectrum, like Yadu said, right from the maintenance end all the way, till maybe you have, people dealing with AI, ML, and IoT devices also. Yashvin, yes, go ahead.
Basically, refrigeration, apart from the trade as such, I would say it is more satisfying in terms of what you actually contribute to the society. Like you help preserve so many things which may in term may waste, and then it will lead to national loss, or maybe there is indirectly some losses you are preventing, you are contributing to the society. If you are maintaining it very well, you are contributing to society by saving power and saving food from wastage. So apart from technicalities, there are a lot more satisfying factors in a refrigeration job. And when you really come into it, you only then realize so many things you are because you are into there. You are so important thing to do to prevent so many things
Yeah.
spoilage. So that way it is more satisfying.
So there is a sort of a higher and a noble cause also associated with being associated with the refrigeration business.
Definitely.
Anil, you were wanting to add something.
Yes, while I was listening and I was contributing to the discussion, what I felt that uh, there is a lot of need to indigenize whatever we are doing in the refrigeration and air conditioning field. So it is really encouraging to have a Make in India strategy that we develop everything in India. For refrigeration, practically all things are getting manufactured and developed in India. But what we need to do, add to it, is innovation. For example, if you see every day the refrigerant charge which we are charging into the system is reducing, and that kind of innovation adds to energy efficiency plus safety also.
Right.
So there is a tremendous scope to make system innovation and make system energy efficient. And if you have some refrigerants like ammonia where you feel that they are unsafe, but they are really safe because we are using gas cylinders in our house. But there is a scope that if, as for when I started my career, we were using about 6 kg of ammonia for 1 ton of refrigeration. But now it has reduced to 1.5 kg to 6 kg, and now people are talking about reducing it to zero point 0.5 to 0.8 kg. So there is a tremendous scope for innovating the equipments within India, and to see that how can we make the same system with a difference, making it differently.
Right.
So
Right.
that is really,
Very.
we can
That's
anyone can contribute to it, and that will be really really great in that part.
Yes, I think that's probably the biggest thing that we could offer to the to the rest of the world as well, in terms of being able to the Indian innovation, which we loosely call as the jugaad, so that is something that actually brings about probably sometimes the best results. While we've been having these discussions, there have actually been a lot of comments that have been come, and I would like to put a few of them up on screen for anybody who would want to respond to them. So, here we have Emmanuel saying logistics and refrigeration are interconnected, and both are needed. And of course, we have another gentleman, Matthew, saying that he had no idea it was World Refrigeration Day. Well, quite a few people did know that it was World Refrigeration Day today, but yes, it is. We also have Lalit saying that it's an established fact that cold chain helps in reducing wastage. Yes, it does, and yeah, wastage at all levels. From farm to fork, it'll help in greenhouse gases environment impact. Yes, a lot of this is true. We have a good perspective from Kishan, who says he's using the AC at 27, 28 degrees so that he should not feel hot. There is no need to feel cold. That's a wonderful perspective. The idea that an air conditioned environment, should have. In fact, he says in Japan they advise you to put the AC at 26 degrees. And I think he went on to add that can use a sensor. I guess he meant a sensor in the room so that to find out if somebody's there or not. And we have Devi Prasad saying that it gives a lot of opportunity core mechanical department, including basic and applied thermodynamics. Yes, Devi Prasad, that's something what we also believe, that this is a line of business or an industry which may not seem to be as flashy and as enterprising as some of the other industries, but try to imagine yourself working or living in an environment that has no refrigeration. So I'd like to wind up today's discussion, and if anybody has a few last thoughts on this, something that has not been already shared or said before, please feel free, and otherwise we'll wind this up right now.
Sure, Sandeep. You were
Anyone?
wonderful. I have nothing more to add.
Yes, and thank you all very much for bringing in your own perspectives from your own different lines of work, and helping. We've done our bit today in terms of increasing the awareness. At least a step in that direction. We've also shown that there can also be some really cool careers in the refrigeration business, and that every one of us can actually be what we call as a cooling champion, right? So on that note, thank you very much, and thank you to all the audience who joined us and for all your comments. If you really enjoyed this discussion, please feel free to share the link with others. It's there on Facebook, it's there on LinkedIn as well. And thank you once again, and all the best to everyone on the occasion of World Refrigeration Day. Right, to the panelists, please stay. I'll just end the online broadcast. Just hold on.